Yo, I'm back with another video. Today we're going to bully our way through this video to describe to you all the world of Bully Scholarship Edition within 30 minutes. Bully was made by Rockstar, same company that made our favorite child, GTA. Definitely not seeing the game anytime soon. Watch another delay comes out for it. Controversy surrounded this game a lot by glorifying bullying. Jack Thompson, a politician actually, blocked this game in Florida because you could kiss boys.
Video game industry's worst nightmare.
Which is like, okay dude, you're homophobic, great. Makes it easier for me to not mess with ya, let's be honest. Not the fact that there are way more concerning things in the game happening, like a lot more concerning things. Now, you're probably wondering why is there a Bully and then a Bully Scholarship Edition. The new version of the game, which will be the Scholarship Edition, which is probably the main game that we'll be diving in throughout this whole video. Now, the new version of this game was released with more enhanced graphics at the time. It released on the Xbox, the Nintendo Wii, to Windows 2008. Big moves, am I right? Also adds several new features and fixes many bugs. Yeah, right, because I got a lot of bugs when I played that game. It crashed a lot, but it only crashed at certain points of the game. Scoping out. Oh no. Did it crash? It crashed. No. Also could have just been because it's running on an enhanced PC and not from 2008. Hopefully my PC is not from 2008. It isn't. That's probably another reason why it was crashing. It was just not optimized enough for it. But yeah, those crashes did not stop me or gatekeep me away from this masterpiece of a game. There's a lot of new features within the game as well. One of them involved 8 new missions that you could do, some additional characters, a few new classes which included biology, music, math, and geography, a new unlockable item and clothing. And overall, the release date was March 4th, 2008. It was released despite all the controversies, despite everything, it was still released. So I'm going to go over some of the story for the game. I've split it up into all the chapters, and throughout each of those I will be going into different details and, you know, just diving into the world of Bully.
And we certainly will not tolerate bad language, violent conduct, disrespecting staff, or any other nonsense, not at Bulworth. Not on my watch.
Now, chapter 1 was titled Making New Friends and Enemies. In the first chapter, Bully, it involves Jimmy arriving at the Bullsworth Academy and immediately running into trouble with the bullies there. Prior to arriving at the school, Jimmy is actually dropped off by his mom and his stepdad at the time. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I remember seeing this intro part and I was already hooked on it. It was just so good.
James?
What? Who are you? Mom, I thought you told me never to talk to strangers. Okay, rich guy. I love it that you're twice as old as my grandfather and you're fat and bald.
He is then dropped outside of Bullsworth Academy and is greeted by Miss Danvers, I believe.
Welcome to Bullworth Academy.
I never know how to say her name. And is told to go to the main office to speak to Dr. Crabblesnitch. He got crabs. He's crabby. He's a crabby principal. He's a crabby principal. The whole intro, as I mentioned before, just kind of hooked me into the game. Of course, as you breathe and walk throughout this whole school, you're just interacting with a bunch of bullies, and there are 3 bullies that you interact with literally at the start of the game that I'll go over. They're not anything important, but it literally solidifies the game, the name of the game, Bully. The first bullies we will be talking about is Trent, and he appears during the movie tickets mission, and he is also there during the save algae missions as well. You can also see Trent at one of the fights against Jimmy and Russell. The second bully that you encounter is Ethan, can be seen in chapter 2 and 5, but there are no major story roles with Ethan. And lastly, it's Davis. He comes back during the setup mission and the first fight, and is also watched alongside Trent the fight between Jimmy and Russell. Now, we move on. Who cares about those bullies? Those aren't important, because now, who do we encounter? Gary. In the dorm, Jimmy meets Gary, an annoying little ball of privilege, and I just despise his voice, if I'm gonna be honest, who offers to be friends with him. A little bit later, we get introduced to Pete, but he may be in kind of a weird situation with Jimmy, but their relationship development throughout this whole game is the best. I'm a Pete fan. Gary then takes Jimmy on a tour of the school. Jimmy is convinced by Gary to retrieve some chocolates for Eunice, and he ends up kissing her.
Want to make out? Sheesh.
Gary then shows him to 4 cliques: the nerds, preppies, greasers, and the jocks. Jimmy's first months in Bullworth consist of fighting off many of the bullies and making friends with the nerds. Remember, Gary's plan is to take over the whole school by using Jimmy, but he never anticipates the change in Jimmy throughout the story. Since we're talking about the nerds, I am going to go over some of the members that are key factors in this story and are very prominent throughout the game. The nerds include Ernest Jones, who is the leader, / Algie is usually those two, including Beatrice, I would say, from time to time. The nerds are literally at the bottom of the hierarchy. Out of all the cliques, they are at the bottom. They're generally very, very respectful to all the non-clique students, so the people that are literally in no cliques, and they're usually wearing green. They all have glasses, very bad posture. They're either very underweight or overweight. They're weak fighters, but are responsible for inventing the most powerful weapons throughout this game, and in a lot of missions. The nerds are the first clique to befriend Jimmy Hopkins, and frequently hire him as either protection from the bullies or to retrieve items or members. That mission where you're protecting Ernest, I loved it. I loved every single part of it. I don't know why. Maybe because I was just so new to the game and it was my first breath of it. It was so fun. It was just a fun mission. Like, he's doing a speech and you're protecting him from the other bullies who are trying to take him down. It was very interesting. Protecting him was hella fun, even though the audio from the cheering of the audience near the end, like the people watching the little speech, was the most shit audio I've ever heard.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, let's just say I had a career in voice acting. If I had to cheer, you could use literally my cheer to replace that audio. Like, and I could put that on my resume that I voice acted. That's how bad that audio was for cheering. Just cheering. Now, Halloween is a big part of this first chapter. You're basically pulling a lot of pranks throughout this whole thing while you're in costume. It's you, Gary, and Pete that are in different costumes. Gary is in kind of like a suit, like a police. I don't know if he was a police officer or like some type of soldier. You are dressed up as one of the bullies from Karate Kid. Pete is dressed as a cute little rabbit, which I love. Not gonna lie, I might even go back to get a lot of those collectibles. There were so many collectibles, including tombstones, pumpkins, and even overall obtaining Edna's face as a mask. Yep, you can get her face as a mask. Ultimately leading to the big prank by exploding a paper bag full of poop in the school. And that's basically all of Halloween, really. Gary's just making you do a bunch of pranks. He's not doing it himself. He's instructing you to do it, you know. You are supposed to do it. That's kind of the whole Gary vibe here, okay? It's okay. His downfall will come soon. Shortly after Halloween, Gary continues Jimmy to accompany him into the school basement. They end up at the Hole, a concrete fighting pit. Here, Gary turns on Jimmy and tricks him into fighting the bully leader, Russell. Jimmy beats Russell and they talk it out. Gary basically runs away during this time. Russell isn't the smartest, but is way more forgiving than a lot of the other characters throughout this whole game. Thus triggers Chapter 2, Rich Kid Blues. Is it called Rich Kid Blues? The chapter starts with Gord complimenting Jimmy on his fight against Russell at the end of Chapter 1 and inviting him to the boxing gym in Old Bullworth Vale. Jimmy is also sent out to town to do a bunch of errands, including a lot of cafeteria errands, love ya Edna, but also collecting sheets or helping the janitor, and even escorting or protecting the nerds from time to time. Mr. Haddock is attempting to get Mr. Galloway fired for actively drinking in school, which is bad, but there are worse things. Cough cough, the panty raid. Dear God, was I disgusted by that mission. He then gets acquainted with the preppies. They are the third clique in the hierarchy order. They're above the nerds and the bullies, but are below the greasers and the jocks. They're very well dressed. They have an aquaberry word written out. It's an amalgamation of two real-life British clothing brands, which is Burberry and Aquasuccutum. All of the preppies are basically rich, snobby. They very much look down on their classes and classmates. The prominent characters within this clique is Pinky, Tad and his crew, Biff Taylor, and Derby, which is really weird because near the end you only really interact with Derby and Biff Taylor, and the person you should be fighting is Tad, but you kind of end up fighting Biff Taylor and Derby. They do have a big rivalry with the greasers for some reason. They have the worst, literally the worst accents.
Sure. Are you English? Well, no. I just speak this way because I'm very insecure.
I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if they want to be British or they all want to be American. But a very funny joke that is run throughout this whole part of the chapter is that they are known for being inbred, which is why they have a lot of physical and mental deformities. Basically go out to help Pinky because she's a princess. For the movie ticket mission, your job is basically to clear out the whole line. While you're clearing out the line, getting rid of each and every one of them, you basically end up kissing Eunice again for the second time. Pinky basically is impressed by you and wants you to go on a date with her, and you basically score a date with her and you take her out to the carnival, which is a win-win for Pinky because she does not want to date her cousin. Fast forward, you go to the carnival with her and the date is successful. Fast forward past that, you are eventually winning the beach house at the Bulworth's Vale in the boxing tournament that you signed up for. Pretty good, I gotta say, pretty good. Some of the preppies, led by Tad Spencer, form a plan to egg Mr. Haddock's house in retaliation for nearly getting Mr. Galloway fired. And having noticed him, they ask Jimmy to provide the eggs. As the preppies meet Jimmy in front of Tad's house, Gary shows up. He accuses Jimmy of having said various things about Tad's family, causing the preppies to attack him. Why, Gary, why? He really just drops it, doesn't want to deal with the issue, and runs off. I would say the P word, but I'm not going to. You beat them up and leave. Now, in bad standing with the preppies, Jimmy is constantly attacked by them, and they retaliate by stealing a trophy that he won in the bike race. Jimmy, with the help of Greaser Ricky, gets the trophy back. He retaliates by egging Tad's house. I appreciate Russell during this whole time helping us, which leads us to the boxing challenge.
So how do I do it, Pete? Do what? Beat those rich kids into submission.
Jimmy asks Pete for help. He points out that the abuse Jimmy has been giving the preppies isn't gonna make anything way more easier going on forward. He now has to prove, in the words of Pete, prove he's better than the best man. Pete, what? Come on. What a good advice. Even though Jimmy and Pete aren't on great terms at the moment, like, they're friends, kinda, but like, Jimmy is still technically a bully and Pete is just a non-click. Either way, W advice, I'm gonna be honest. It's still a very interesting relationship between the two. He suggests that Jimmy challenge Biff Taylor to a boxing match. Jimmy does so and wins. As the preppies stand around unsure of what to do, Derby Harrington, the leader of the preppies,
You disgust me!
finally appears. He reminds them that being a preppy is about breeding, nepotism, and snobbery. Why is this stuff to remind people of? I don't know. Other than, oh dear God, I don't want to be your friend anymore. Oh dear God, I don't want to associate with you. But sure, let's remind everyone that.
Beat him back to the ghetto! Yeah!
Derby, however, is forced out to fight Jimmy and is defeated, as always. Now, all these fights, whether it was Russell or Derby or the ones coming up throughout this whole video, all these fights basically were kind of like boss fights throughout this game. That's kind of what it gave in terms of gaming aspect. It just felt like a bunch of boss fights, if I'm gonna be honest. Now, after fully boxing out Derby, we commence to Chapter 3, which is called Love Makes the World Go Round. Jimmy and Pete are in the boys' dorm playing darts when Peanut Romano comes and tells Jimmy that the greaser leader, Johnny Vincent, needs his help. Yeah, I didn't know that was his name, but according to Bully Wiki, that Peanut Romano was the dude's name. Jimmy is basically at this point starting to get annoyed by everybody for constantly asking help from him. Petey then tells Jimmy who Johnny is and how getting friendly with him is actually probably a really good thing. Now let's explain the Greasers. The Greasers are the second in the school clique hierarchy. However, on the Scholarship Edition instruction manual, it is mistakenly written as the first clique, which out of all the cliques, I've gotta admit, I do think the Greasers are my favorite. If I had to choose, I feel like my only friend needs to just be Pete and Pete only, so yeah, WP. The Greasers dress basically in leather or denim. They have a 1950s feel to them. They also grease their hair with a lot of pomade oil. A lot of people assume they're basically Italian Americans at this point in terms of what the names were for some of the characters. Some of the prominent characters within this clique is Johnny Vincent, Norton Williams, and Lola. Now moving on to some side missions. We basically do a lot of the side missions before majority of the main stories. I want to go over some of them because they made an impact in my brain. In my specific playthrough, I did a lot of missions for Edna, including the meat incident and her little date. His meat is in his crotch. I mean, the meat is in... What? I need the meat. Oh, that guy just said I had a midlife crisis. Before we continue with the main story, I do want to talk about the little mini games, and one of the most significant mini game that I played was Consumo. Oh my god. I was so determined to get that high score. I never did, but that mini game was so fun. It was found in the Nerds Hideout, and it was just amazing. And basically all you have to do was try and beat the high score of another nerd. When it comes to the Christmas missions, I can go over them and go on about them for so long. Like, those were literally my top missions that I did, were the Christmas ones, which involved the snowball mission with the hobo. Yes, we're gonna talk about the hobo. In the game, he is known to help you basically learn a lot of different fighting moves if you find him transistors. The hobo says he is a veteran from the Korean War, and there's no reason as to how he got to Bulworth Academy, but he's basically in a yard fenced in near the school. He's an alcoholic, but he's not tipsy. He's trying to get tipsy a lot of the times. Another part of the missions during the Christmas time was also instructed to us by the hobo, but I might have messed up on it just a little bit. I did the mission, but I kind of went overboard. All you have to do is knock over the set and like a snowman. But your girl over here, I kind of also knock out the elves and Santa. I don't know if anybody else did, but I did. I swear it's not a hate crime, but I may receive some coal. Sorry, Santa. The next mission during the Christmas side missions was Miss Peters. Her walk during the Nutcracker mission, can I just say, killed me. She was like dancing, but her hands were like this and they were frozen, and she had a little groove to her step. I feel like out of all the teachers, she was one of my favorites. I mean, she is a music teacher after all, so the groove in her step makes sense. Anyway, those are the missions that, not gonna lie, were hella fun. Back to the main story chapter. Jimmy finally meets Johnny, who's furious because he suspects that his girlfriend Lola is cheating. He hires Jimmy to take pictures to prove it. One of the most sus things you do in this, just saying. Other than the panty raid, another sus one. But there's a lot more crazy things. Jimmy does exactly that and gives Johnny the pictures. Johnny then angrily says he just knew it.
Here are the pictures, Johnny. Lola's a bit of a slut, it seems.
Johnny then tells Jimmy to lure Gore to an abandoned indoor BMX park so he can beat him up. A fight breaks out with Jimmy helping the Greasers, and afterwards he is in good standings with them. Jimmy then visits Ernest in the library, who tells him that Johnny is after Algie because he thinks Algie made moves on Lola. Jimmy finds Cornelius being bullied by the Greasers, who are trying to intimidate him into telling them where Algie is. Algie is actually in New Coventry, but Cornelius was like, I got his back. I won't tell them where he actually is. Jimmy finds Algie. They both see Lola flirting with Chad. Lola ends up dumping both Chad and Algie because she was flirting with both of them.
But I thought she liked me.
I don't believe.
Just before the angry greasers arrive, Jimmy, Chad, and Algie escape from the greasers by riding bikes. They safely return to the school where Ernest and Cornelius thank Jimmy for helping them. Jimmy then claims the greasers hang out by beating them up. We got another fight on our hands. Boo, 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 boo. He then accidentally gets in the middle of an argument between Johnny and Lola. Johnny accuses Jimmy of trying to get with Lola. What makes matters worse, Lola makes them race with bikes. Oh, this part. I might have messed up a little here. Might have done this race more than once. I can't get hit. I legitimately just can't get hit. I can't get knocked out. I can't run into invisible things. Jimmy then wins, and Lola takes the opportunity to make moves on Jimmy, which makes Johnny even more angrier. He then meets up with Lola again, who tells him that the greasers and preppies are having a big brawl over her. She insults him for not participating, basically telling Jimmy, "Why are you not fighting for me?" Jimmy decides to go after him. He tracks down Johnny's second-in-command, Peanut. Hi, Peanut. And beats him up along with Vance and Lefty. Johnny appears and decks him. The cops come and Johnny rides off, while Jimmy and the rest are fleeing from the cops. Jimmy outrides the police and follows Johnny into the junkyard, which basically commences a fighting ring. Johnny is on his motorcycle with a metal pipe in his hand while all the greasers are standing on cars, but Pete is there to help you. WP, WP. It was a very annoying fighting scene because people other than Johnny are hitting you and throwing stuff at you. It was just really annoying to deal with. Also, I'm dumb and I play this game with keyboard and not controller. That fight commences and ends and Jimmy wins. Johnny then tells Jimmy that since he won the fight, you can have Lola. And Jimmy basically says that he has no interest in her and he can keep that for himself. And now we are on to Chapter 4. A Healthy Mind in a Healthy Body and Other Lies was Chapter 4. And that's where we are now. The chapter starts with Jimmy and Pete talking out in the front of the school, where Jimmy hurts Petey's feelings by calling him a dork. Come on, Jimmy. Petey literally runs into Ted Thompson and Damon West, who are the jocks, who proceed to bully him, and Jimmy basically scares him off and defends Pete. To take down the jocks, Jimmy tries to enlist the help of the nerds, but they have suddenly and mysteriously turned against him. Petey advises Jimmy to go after Ernest Jones, the nerd leader. Algie rapping was not something I expected. I swear this game throws so many curveballs at me. It was interesting. But they're good curveballs because they grab my attention.
What are you talking about?
Don't get fresh with your homies.
Can you please talk normally?
This is my normal style of rapping, bro.
He then finds himself at the fun house to save a lot of the nerds just so that he can gain back the nerds' trust because they betrayed them. Honestly, at that point, if the nerds betray you, we're out. We're out. Who cares? We don't need the nerds. We have the greasers to take on the jocks. You know? Like, anyway, we basically try to make amends with the nerds so that they can help us take down the jocks. Winning Ernest over, Jimmy allows him to plan the assault on the jocks. Ernest promptly gets Jimmy in trouble and then asks for risky pictures of cheerleader Mandy. Another sus thing, which I hated. Why are some men like this? Then blows them into full-size pictures. This was literally by far my least fave mission, not gonna lie. I feel like if you wanted to mess with the jocks, this was the worst way to do it. Because why throw Mandy under the bus just because you want to mess with the jocks? You should have just got pictures of them instead. You shouldn't even be taking pictures of people naked, but you could have found any other way to get revenge on the jocks, not use Mandy. Later on, Ernest basically becomes a coward, and the jocks are really angry. They blame it on Jimmy. Also, the nerds don't appreciate anything you do for them. Every time you interact with them, they, "Aw, this dude again." Later, Jimmy sees Mandy on the bleachers upset about the risky photos of her. Feeling guilty, Jimmy covers them up, thus winning Mandy over, which I love. As much as I also didn't like Mandy, that mission did not sit right with me at all. And we still help the nerds. Why, Jimmy? Why? Why? Just... why? Anyway. Ernest finally comes with a good plan to sabotage the big football game. Jimmy steals the mascot costume, which we fought to get, infiltrates the jocks, pees in the water, superglues the bench, marbles all over the field, rigs a football with explosives, which is kind of dangerous, I'm not gonna lie, fights Ted, throwing the explosive rigged footballs at the defenders and eventually sacking him. Petey joins him on the football field, exclaiming that now that Jimmy has beaten the jocks in front of the entire school, he runs the place. And then comes Chapter 5, The Fall and Rise of Jimmy Hopkins, age 15. Now that Jimmy is on the rise, he was kind of becoming the king of the school, is what I'll say. I mean, seeing different cliques together, hanging out with each other was really interesting. The chapter begins with Jimmy and all the clique leaders. Jimmy is having a great time ruling the school. Petey comes in and tries to tell Jimmy that there's still a problem, but Jimmy isn't listening. The clique leaders decide that Jimmy needs to pull off a spectacular prank, which involves taking a dump on the steps of Town Hall and graffitiing all over Town Hall as well. Jimmy then goes and writes "Bullworthless" on it. When he comes back, all hell is broken loose. The non-clique students, nerds, preppies, greasers, and jocks have all turned on him and each other. Weird things are happening, the library ends up full of rats, the gym is on fire, Johnny disappears, and stealing trophies. Jimmy manages to determine that the townies are behind these acts. He can convince the other students to listen to him. He confronts the townies at their hangout. Now introducing the townies. The townies wear very casual clothing. A lot of orange. Relevant in terms of the townies is Zoe. She's here, guys. It's her, it's Zoe. Zoe actually appears in the yearbook and was the only one out of the townies to attend the school. We'll talk about her a bit more later. The townies are teenagers who live in Bulworth, but don't attend Bulworth Academy. They have a fierce resentment for the school. Majority of them are juvenile delinquents. On returning to school, he is summoned to the principal's office, Mr. Krabby, where he is expelled. It is revealed that Gary squealed to the principal that Jimmy basically graffitied and shit at Town Hall. Yeah, we thought we forgot about Gary, right? Yeah, no, it doesn't end here. Furthermore, he also convinced Krabby that he is head boy. Within inches of giving up, Jimmy is encouraged by Pete to go investigate the townies. Again, W. Pete. With the help of the amazing
Russell!
Jimmy heads to Blue Sky's Industrial Park, where he meets Zoe, a girl who was also expelled from Bulworth Academy. In her case, she explained that Mr. Burton was hitting on her, which makes a lot of sense, considering the shit that we have to do with him. Cough cough, panty raid. Red flags, basically. Red flags everywhere. They become close, pretty close, and actually friends, while getting revenge on Mr. Burton by putting him in a porta potty and running him down a hill.
This is up!
Zoe then helps Jimmy find the townie leader Edgar. Jimmy breaks into the townie's hideout to track down Edgar, finally defeating him in a battle inside an abandoned chemical plant, ultimately beating Edgar and gaining his respect from not only him, but also the townies.
What are you doing here?
Looking for you, Zoe. I think I'm in love.
Don't be ridiculous. Haven't you heard?
Heard what, my
The
love?
school has broken out into a massive fight. Every gang and faction is fighting each other.
Instructing Edgar to basically calm down everyone at the school.
So, how was school today?
So that Jimmy can finally scrap it up with Gary.
Your attention, please. Jimmy is complete human trash.
You run after Gary all the way up to the rooftop. Gary talks about how he won by making Jimmy do all the dirty work for him. Then we also chase him and then fight him, and then he talks again about how he made everybody eat out of the palm of his hand with his annoying voice. This whole scene, he was screaming. It felt like he was forcing his voice out, can I just say. My throat hurt for him.
Face it, I'm smarter than you!
Oh, congratulations! You're smarter than...
He exposes how he's head boy and has tied up the principal. While causing chaos, you fall down, fighting Gary through many stories of the building, finally landing into the principal's office. Mr. Krabby admits he heard the whole thing, yelling that Gary is expelled and that Jimmy is the diamond.
Edges, but you're a diamond, boy. A diamond.
Thank you, sir.
Because Jimmy is such a diamond, he obviously gives out some things that he wanted to change about the school, and some people that just deserve better. At the end of chapter 5, Zoe is readmitted to Bullsworth alongside with Jimmy, tells Krabby about her unjust expulsion and Burton's actions. Crapple Snatch agrees to this and declares Burton terminated. Yay! Also, Petey getting head boy was just so sweet for Jimmy to do, especially since Petey is basically guiding Jimmy throughout this whole school year with great ideas. So let's go, Pete! WP! Jimmy and Zoe then kiss and the credits roll. Bully Wiki wrote kiss. It wasn't just a kiss. They were smooching it up. They were making some moaning noises. Then the credits roll. And that's basically majority of the main game done. There is chapter 6, which is called The Endless Summer. And during that time, you have a lot of classes that are remaining. You can take this time to basically 100% the game. Anyway, I am so down to go back to this game to 100% it. It was such a good playthrough. It was one of my absolute fave playthroughs that I've done overall. Speaking of 100%ing though, I never followed or took the time to read through the schedule or like go through the classes. On Bully Wiki, they have a part called Jimmy's schedule, and basically I thought it was the classes he had. It was actually the schedule of when you were free and when you would get in trouble, if that makes sense. Personally, would have also liked to see how the schedule went for the actual classes. But yeah, so basically that schedule on Bully Wiki was more of like if you're late or if you're on time versus free time versus detention. The whole schooling aspect was just so interesting and so detailed. The amount of classes you went to, the different classes you went to, and if you were succeeding in those classes, the difficulty of it basically just upping every time you went to class. It was good. I just never went to the classes. But yes, my fave class was with Miss Phillips. She was the art teacher. She definitely knew she was a bombshell because every single class we had to do a picture of her. But what was even interesting is every one of those pictures she was posing differently in each one of them. I still very much love her though. Slay Queen. We love Miss Phillips. But if you complete that whole art class, you actually get the ability to kiss a girl without giving a gift. Before, you had to give a gift to a girl to get a kiss. But now you could just kiss a girl without giving a gift. W Miss Phillips! No, I didn't go over this, but there is an asylum in the game during chapter 5 where you're kind of looking for Johnny Vincent, because a bunch of the greasers had said that, or some asylum orderlies went to his house. And so that makes you, Jimmy, go to the asylum.
You know how people love to talk.
At first, I literally thought it was a bait. I really legitimately thought it was a bait. But when I showed up, Johnny was literally behind bars in the asylum. Now let's talk about the asylum. Why is there an asylum? Is it a replacement for a hospital? Because when I looked through, I didn't see any hospitals. I did find the map, and on that map it showed that there was like red crosses. Now I don't know if those were hospitals or what they were exactly. I wonder, because if there are people in there, who knows how half of them might have like anxiety and they're like, oh, you're gonna be put into an asylum instead of the hospital. When you're in the asylum, it is loud. It has a lot of screaming, even sounds of torture. Potentially you could hear sounds of drills. The workers are all dressed up in white and the vibes switch as soon as you walk in. Don't anger the watcher, which they pan to a statue with, I think, Otto. I didn't really do that mission. I know about the mission, but I didn't do it. It's a very interesting area. It pans to a statue. That statue's pose is very holy-like, like almost religious or cult-like, if you want to say. TheNathanNS actually talks about this more in their video, which is called Bully Mysteries, Investigating Happy Volt Asylum. This video basically goes more into detail about the creepy asylum and unused lines, things they might have taken out from the beta. It just talks about the asylum more, so I think you guys should check that out for sure. It's a bit more creepy. The C block area in the asylum is technically you can't really go through. It's very much blocked off, but if you walk enough into it, you can actually break it down and go through. In there, it's more creepy, I would say. You come across a room with a bunch of x-rays, and it kind of looks like a bunch of morgue cases on the side as well. The pictures of the x-rays don't look human at all. They actually look very different than a human. They look way more animal-like. Overall, I would love to get your opinion and your theories about the asylum in Bully, because I would like to know. Like, I would like to know its purpose other than some characters hinting at it throughout the game, or other than why Johnny was there. Like, what else is there about it? There has to be some history. Some asylums are as old as the towns, so... Enough of the spooky, scary parts. There are a lot of videos out there that talk about a lot about the asylum and even more creepier things within this game. A lot of the icebergs I have yet to watch, but I'm interested in watching now after doing all this research. As I've made these videos are always cited. All the information will always be in the description to the original person who shared the information. A lot of the information comes from my head, a wiki page, and some YouTube videos, but I'll always link the information. Well, that was Bully. Did that pique your interest? Because it did mine. One of my fave games I played literally out of all the games last year in 2024, and it's not even a new game. After playing this game, I feel like this really adds to when I hear Rockstar Games. Initially, I thought of GTA, but now I think I have a new favorite child. For now, that is. Watch I say this, GTA gets delayed by 2 years. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Please make sure to like and subscribe and suggest any other videos you want me to deep dive into. My name is Hina, and I will see you all in the next video. If you miss me, catch me on Twitch. Anyway, see ya. Don't be a bully.
Who's the baddest? Me! Who's the toughest? Me!